1, 2, 3, 4, now she's ready, now it's time. A Boston girl who knows true crime. She got cash, attitude, but her truly got blue. She knows Sunday, she knows summer. Now she's ready, now it's time. A Boston girl who knows true crime. She got cash, attitude, but her truly got blue. She knows Sunday, she knows summer, Danny, after dark, rock.
Hi, and welcome to Danny After Dark. If you're new here, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss a notification or a new episode. Tonight is a special edition of the True Crime and Chill, and joining me is Mr. Beckham. Beckham, how are you doing?
Good. What's up? Well, how's it going, everybody?
So me and you have been messaging about tonight's topic all day. Then again, I think everybody's been talking about tonight's topic all day. So if you don't know why we're here and you didn't see the thumbnail or the title, shocking, we are going to be talking about, so OJ Simpson passed away today.
Actually, it was last night, but yeah, it was reported this morning.
It was reported
this morning. He passed away last night of cancer. It was actually, I think it was, I'm trying to think of the cancer he had.
Oh, I have it.
I don't want to say the wrong one.
No, that's okay. Prostate cancer.
Prostate cancer, yeah. So, and you know, so I followed him on Twitter, okay? And I started to follow him on Twitter because of, it was a few years ago. It was probably like 2018 when I started following him because how he would engage with the audience. Like he would just, you know, he would say, hello, Twitter, yours truly. And it just, the way he said it was funny because, you know, he was, you know what I mean? You know why he was doing it. So, but I mean, he would talk about football and whatever during football season and just give his opinions about things like that. He wasn't really, he kind of stayed away from the whole political thing or anything like that. It was all sports related whenever he would come on and talk. But anyway, he hadn't been active lately, I guess, even throughout the football season. And now looking back, I didn't see him very much as he had before. And that kind of makes sense now, right, with his passing. So it was kind of surprising for me this morning when I saw it through the news, the outlets or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I was just like taken back. I was like, oh, wow. And I guess, and then I kind of, in my own thought process was like, wow, that's kind of why he had been limited to his postings or interviews or social media appearances. So, yeah.
It's always, when you go and look back in hindsight with a lot
of exactly. Yeah. It makes, a little bit more sense. Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So before we kind of jump into kind of talking about this tonight, and obviously you guys in the chat, we definitely want to hear from you too. You know, we'll get to all that. So lots to uncover tonight, but it will just be about OJ and his life and his passing. So let's see who's here. Linda, Tony Stewart, Dudaman, Renee, James Watson, Chris James, Russell, Rhonda Thompson. Rhonda, haven't seen you in a little bit. Good to see you, hun. Capone, good to see you. The Liz. You know, look at her coming in making trouble already.
What is it? She's a lister.
This is an OJ tribute show. You know what, Liz? You march to the beat of your own drum. You do you, boo. Yeah, look at Linda. A lot to unpack tonight. Oh my God, absolutely. Mike Rock, hello. Let's see if the glove doesn't fit.
Oh, here we go. Who's the first one to start calling?
I know, Mike Rock's coming in hot. I don't have my other YouTube app pulled extra screen pulled up. Tomorrow's True Crime and Chill. Come back and I'll have that up and I'll do wrenches for those who don't. So my apologies.
So are we gonna cover OJ two nights back to back?
No. Tonight is just OJ. Tomorrow
Let's
is the
get
kind
to
of
the
regular.
bottom of the OJ murders.
But if more information comes out, we'll update. But no,
I do have an update on the OJ murders straight from OJ.
Beckham.
What?
Oh God. If my internet jits out a little bit, my apologies. Let's see. Hi, Knuckles, Tony L.
Hey,
Dan
Kirk.
Work. Okay. All right. I think I have everybody. If I missed anybody, my apologies. So, okay. All right. Let's get into it. So, all right. OJ. So again, for those who don't know, OJ has passed away, 76 years old, as Beckham said, from prostate cancer. OJ's prostate cancer diagnosis was, and I didn't know this until I actually did some research. It was made public 2 months ago, and he'd been receiving chemotherapy treatment. And when I Googled pictures of him recently, like you can really see just quite a shift. But that's what chemotherapy does. But I had no idea because I don't follow OJ. So I had no idea. So for those who didn't see the post on OJ's, I still call it Twitter. I know it's X now, but on his
I think everybody still calls it Twitter.
Yeah. So what it says is, as Beckham said, he passed away yesterday. So, quote, on April 10th, our father, Orenthal James Simpson, succumbed to his battle with cancer. He was surrounded by his children and grandchildren. During this time of transition, his family asks that you please respect their wishes for privacy and grace, end quote. So that's how one of the ways it got out. And I do have to say, like, I know a lot of people, including myself, have a lot to say about OJ Simpson himself, but I do really hope that people do give his family, especially his children and grandchildren, give them privacy. They had anything OJ did in life that has nothing to do with them. You know what I mean? And sometimes, people might want to comment, or, a reporter might want to comment, or the pictures of the family, as they're preparing to, say goodbye to their loved one, with services and stuff. Yeah, I agree. Respect the family, keep them out of it. So I can't stress that enough. I just want to make sure that was said. So where do we begin with OJ? All right.
What's the word to describe his life? Illustrious. It was a wild run. That's for sure.
It was a wild run.
Get it?
Beckham, don't quit your day job. Don't quit your day job.
It was definitely a life.
And we're going to touch on all of that. We're going to touch. Yeah, look at Capone, a colorful life.
Ooh.
So, okay, Liz. Okay, Liz makes a point here. Liz makes a point. So she actually sent me, and I sent it to you. Somebody wrote on a comment, if the casket doesn't fit, you must acquit.
Yeah.
God, the internet was wild today.
Oh, yeah. I can imagine.
Wild. And I'm not one that obviously on my own videos, if people leave a comment, like if someone's taking time out of their day to make a comment or ask a question or what, I'm going to respond. Sometimes YouTube doesn't notify me and then I don't know about it. That's the only reason if I don't respond to you, that's the only reason why, because I didn't get the notification. But other than don't apologize. Don't apologize. But other than my own videos, I don't go, when people post things, I don't go, oh my God, what are people saying in the chat? I don't do that in real life, if you will. Today, I sure did. Everywhere I sure did. It was just, my God.
Yeah.
Wild. So let's get through a little bit of who OJ was, a little bit of his background, and as we do that, we'll transition to. I know you guys in the chat are anxious to get into the part of where he really came into our lives, and you guys have opinions and thoughts on it. We are going to get there, I promise. So yes, before we actually dive into that, my apologies for not doing a show earlier this week. I know Beckham was all tore up about it, even though he's not subscribed to my channel, didn't even know I had a show probably. But yes, I was sick earlier this week. Oh, it kicked my butt, but I am better now. But if you did see the event link that I did, you're going to know the case that will be coming up soon. And that was going to be or it still will be, a collab with Paul from the Paulcast, our other co-host. So make sure to check that out when we do that. So, all right. Okay, I'm just seeing here. Is my internet good still?
Yeah, I think so far so good. Sometimes you're freezing just a little bit, but
yeah, I can see the little icon doing. I don't know why that's doing that, but all right, let's progress. So, Orenthal James Simpson. So he was born on July 9th, 1947. For those who don't know, not prior to. So when I grew up, when I was a kid, I just knew OJ from the trials. And I'm not a sports person, but he was a football player for those who didn't know. I know. So Beckham, what year did he win the Heisman Trophy?
Actually, I had the wrong year earlier. Yeah, I was thinking it was 1969. It was actually 1968. He definitely won the Heisman as running back for the USC Trojans. Won a national. I think they won a national championship that same year. I believe. So he was actually in 1969. He was the first pick of the first round of the draft. So won the Heisman in 68, 69. He gets drafted by the Buffalo Bills, and he pretty much plays his entire career there from 1969 to 1977. He breaks records there. He still has the most. He was running back number 32. I believe USC they
retired his number.
I believe the Bills retired his number. All of the sports accolades are still there. He broke the rushing record in 1973 with over 2,000 yards through 14 games. So all that still stands, as far as the sports stuff goes, but
yeah.
I don't want to get ahead of myself with all his accolades, but yeah, right. He was a great athlete to start off,
Yeah. And the one thing that you missed was he did later go on to play for the San Francisco 49ers.
He did, yeah, and he retired in 1979 from the 49ers. Yeah, I mean, you can say it, man. He was not only was some people think he was still a great person. He was a amazing athlete, a great athlete.
Yes.
He sliced through the competition. There was nothing he wouldn't take a stab at. And he was way cut above everything, he even got into acting and everything. So that kind of led towards Hollywood there, always being in LA in the spotlight, just kind of like there. So amazing athlete that led to other things.
Yeah. Yeah. At the end of the day, you put it very eloquently. People can say, we all have our own opinion of it, OJ, whether, yeah. But at the end of the day, I do believe in always giving credit where credit is due. And I'm not a sports person, but he was a very accomplished athlete. So
very accomplished, yeah.
Yeah. So Becca mentioned, even though he had his athletic career, he did go on to do some acting, and he soon became a commercial pitchman at the time where back then, typically African-American athletes didn't really get that chance, or they rarely endorsed or had merchandise deals, kind of the way OJ kind of broke that mold. I was pretty young when this happened, but I vaguely remember he got a car rental company, Hertz, to show him racing through their airports. And he also acted on TV and in movies.
He kind of with the Hertz commercials, he kind of made it look easy getting through airport security and running away from security in the end.
Oh, geez. Yeah, absolutely. So one of the more notable roles he had was in the Naked Gun films, and he did go on to work as a sportscaster for ABC and NBC. So that's kind of where we are kind of career-wise. Like
You
we
didn't
just gave
really,
you all brief
and you
nutshell.
didn't
Go ahead.
really actually know who he was until the actual event, right?
Mhm.
See, I kind of, let's see, mid 80s, I started knowing what football was. I started to understand the game, who the players were, that kind of thing, in about the middle 80s, and I was like 8, 9 years old. Um, I kind of had heard about him here and there only because of the running and stuff, his accolades in football. I still really didn't know who he was. Really, even, I mean, being young, getting into football, pee wee football, junior high football, and that kind of thing. He already had played. I didn't really know who he was by that time. It was like Bo Jackson and Deion Sanders and those guys, Joe Montana. So he was before that time. So again, kind of like you a little bit. I still didn't really know who he was, kind of until you get more older, and then you start seeing more of the records and more of the history, and you start learning more of the history. Which I was much older when I started learning much more of the history.
Yeah.
Right? So, which was about the time when the whole thing transpired.
Yeah.
The event.
The event. It's funny, all those names that you just threw out there, other famous football players. I'm like, I've heard of them.
Bo Jackson is though. You don't know who Bo Jackson is?
I'm not a sports person.
Oh my God. He was just
other
literally
names
named
I
the
recognize.
best athlete of the 20th the 20th century.
Sorry. Sports is not my thing. And if anybody came here to watch the show tonight and is like shocked by that, you clearly never watch this channel. But I don't want to piss off the football fans. It's just I'm not a sports. I live in Boston and I'm not a sports person. Go figure.
Yeah, I mean, in his time, like Rhonda makes a good point. OJ was like Joe Namath, like at that time. Yeah, exactly. In the '60s into the '70s, he was. They kind of were running at the same parallel as far as popularity went. So,
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you guys in the chat know and follow this football talk because I can see that. Yeah, like you know what, you guys, great. Sure.
Yeah, those other guys that I named were like after the OJs and after Joe Montana was on his way out, that kind of stuff. So yeah, definitely completely his career as far as sports went was in the decade of the late 60s and 70s. So that was that time. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Oh goodness. Let's see. There was a few comments from you guys. I just want to make sure. I think.
Hey man, but seriously though, you can still think OJ is, a cut above the rest as far as sports goes.
Yeah, let's break things down so that you guys all have your say on kind of each section of what's going on here. Let's see. Tony L says, as a Brazilian, a conjecture if OJ was an American. I don't even know how to pronounce that. I don't follow that question, Tony.
He was kind of like, he was more of a Pele aspect. He wasn't on the, not on the others. Yeah. As an actor, he was a D actor.
God.
Anyway, he played the dumb comedy roles.
I don't know.
That kind of thing. But
let's see. Linda says, Danny, I'm not into sports. I always liked OJ. Thought he was handsome, but when he killed his wife, no, that's fair. Tony says, not a bad actor, neither. I never saw his acting stuff, to be honest. So I can't.
So let's say this, and I know this for a fact. Okay, so as far as he could give him these acting jobs, right? These like subpar comedies, one-liners kind of thing. Not necessarily one-liners, but like, easy lines, easy maneuvering within the scene. Yeah, he could do that, right? But he couldn't he tried to be a guy on Monday Night Football, right? Every day or every game, talker on camera and things like that. He wasn't good at that. But he'd give him a couple of lines, give him a nice movement within a scene, because he would pretty much, I guarantee you, he probably went back to his like sports day, kind of sports and kind of act that out kind of thing. So they definitely made it easy for him to transition into the acting that way. So
Yeah.
but he could not like call a game. He tried, and so that's different, right? When you're in front of the camera a lot, the entire like 3.5 hours commenting on the game, that's a completely different skill set. He was not good at that. He was good at just whatever I just talked about, just some lines and some movement within the scenes and that kind of thing. So
Gotcha. Just see, James Watson is saying OJ was in a campy 70s sci-fi movie called Capricorn 1 about a fake Mars landing. It's not a horrible movie. It's on YouTube. Oh, thanks for that hot tip, James. Yeah, it was Hertz. Yep.
Yeah, and like some of those scenes, he's basically running, carrying like a briefcase and carrying like a small, a carry-on. And he's just running through the airport, jumping over stuff. There you go, right? Hey, do your thing, man. Here's one line. You know what I mean? There you go.
How much money he got from those? Yeah,
and we'll get to that. I'll get to that. I'll talk about that here in a second as we get to the event and after the post-event stuff.
Yeah. I have been seeing like on Instagram. I mean, because obviously this is everywhere, but the Hertz commercials, I've been seeing like people have been posting them, and I'm like, oh my God, it's just wild.
Shelly.
So long ago. What is Shelly saying? Also, the Kardashians kind of came about.
I was gonna say something about that.
Oh, the Kardashians. I was waiting to see who was going to bring up the Kardashians.
I was going to bring it up later, but
yeah. You know what, Beckham, we're not talking. Yeah. All right. So, all right. After the sports, a little bit of OJ's personal life, if you will. And when I say personal life, meaning we all know it. So he married his high school sweetheart, Marguerite Whitley, in 1967. They had 3 children, Arnell, Jason, and I'm probably going to Arian, who unfortunately would later go on and pass away and drown in a pool in 1979. They eventually separated in 1978, nearly a year after Simpson met 18-year-old Nicole Brown, who was working as a waitress at that time. They moved in together soon after. And then OJ and Marguerite officially divorced, again, 1979. So OJ and Nicole married February 2nd, 1985, and would go on to have 2 children, Sydney and Justin. Their relationship, however, I mean, to say it was volatile is just putting it very simply. But their years together where it was very rocky, up and down. There was, alleges of domestic violence, reports of abuse. We're not going to deep dive into that by any means. You guys can look it up if you want. There's, the arrest records are online. The mugshot photos are online. The pictures of Nicole where she posed for law enforcement and, where the bruises and whatnot are online. If that's something you wanted to look into, do so on your own time. But to say they had a very volatile up and down relationship is just kind of putting it simply and kind of putting that out there. So before we jump into that, all right, Fiddleford has joined us. Let's see. I bet the price of vintage Isotoner gloves just, oh my God.
I would have to say that he did have a cool nickname.
OJ?
Yeah. The Juice.
Mm-hmm.
The juice is loose.
Swear to God. Paul is saying that 911 call from Nicole with OJ's rep. Yeah. Yep. In the book, If I Did It by OJ Simpson, which I did put a link in the description notes of the show. I did do a full review on this book per y'all's request, a full deep dive episode just on this book. And in the book, it does have the 911 transcript. It's funny because I actually just opened up to it now that it's about halfway through the book. And yeah, it's sad. It's rough. But in reading it is one thing. Listening to it is another thing as well. But Paul, you're right. It's a tough call because that's
right, K-Dog.
That's not a unique call. A domestic violence call is not a unique call. So it's
see what K-Dog wrote.
Florida got the oranges, but Buffalo's got the
Got the
juice.
juice.
Oh God. What does James say? I love how Seinfeld spoofed the OJ trial. The broad didn't
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I know I've never seen that one, but I know I've seen the Kennedy one with the spit that back into the left with the spit. That was pretty funny.
Oh geez. I'm not even a huge Seinfeld fan. Okay, well, let me back that up. I like Seinfeld. I've not seen every episode. I'm not one of those diehards, but I have seen that at least.
I don't think I've seen that one. Wow. I have to.
Oh God, you need to check it out on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. So now we are getting into where everybody kind of picks up. And if you never knew the name OJ Simpson before, this is where he came onto the radar. We're not doing like a episode of like a full, episode on this case per se. That's something you can certainly deep dive on your own. But we're just going to give you guys a little bit of the background. Beckham, see what you have to say about this as well. And then you guys, especially in the chat.
Go for it. Shoot. Take a stab at it, Danny.
He can't help himself. Beckham, you cannot help yourself. My God. All right. The murders. So June 13th, 1994, Nicole Brown Simpson, 35 years old, Ron Goldman, 25 years old, were found stabbed to death after her dog led a neighbor to the bloody scene at her Brentwood, California condo home. So we all know from there the trial. Like we all know the trial. So in let's back up a little bit. The trial was to say he built himself the dream team of attorneys is an understatement. Each attorney that he had hired in their own right, excellent attorneys, excellent, very expensive attorneys. And that's where Robert Kardashian Sr., the lawyer, the father of the Kardashian kids and that whole family, he was one of the ones who did represent OJ as well. And they do get into that in the book. Again, If I Did It, goes a bit more into, from OJ's perspective, take with that what you will from this book, kind of the
Johnny Cochran. Dude, if I was ever in trouble, I'd want that guy to be my lawyer.
He's dead. He's passed away.
I know, but I'm just saying. I was
like, wait a minute. What do you mean you want him to be?
Racehorse Haynes, and I would want him too.
Yeah, Russell. Yeah, he had Marsha Clark too. Yep. So what we all take away from the trial, we could do, I was going to say a whole show on the trial. We could do like a week's worth of episodes on the trial.
No, I think it would take multiple episodes. It was just the magnitude of this case, not only revolving the murders itself, the police department, LAPD got thrown in the spotlight, and the prosecution, as well as the defense team, the dream team, which you just called. Each one of those facets of this case has their own story, has their own backstory. It would take multiple shows to cover it all. Yeah.
It was just everything about this case became something in itself that could be focused on. There was celebrity. There was, there was domestic violence. There was race. It touched upon everything, in regards to, like you said, the prosecution became kind of under a spotlight. The defense became under a spotlight.
The Judge Ito, remember Judge Ito? Even his life was under a microscope too. There was never. This was before the internet, so there was never I remember the People's Magazine. Remember People's Magazine? How popular it was. Okay,
it's still out there, but yeah.
I don't know if it's still a thing or not, but every other week it had like OJ this, OJ Nicole this, Goldman that, Furman this, Furman that, Judge Ito started coming out in the front pages of People magazine for whatever reason. If he decided something, if if somebody made a motion something and he went with it or something, he started becoming front page People magazine news. Even the judge presiding over the case. Yeah, I mean, it was just such an embarkment of I guess what do you call it? Drama, courtroom drama. I mean, that's what it was.
Yeah, it was everywhere. You could not escape it.
Could not. It was everywhere.
Everywhere.
Newsstands. You go to the grocery store and you're waiting in line. Back in the day when they didn't take debit cards, it was all checks or cash, and you had an old lady trying to pay with a check. You had to wait for her to write a check out, and you only trying to buy a candy bar. And what are you stuck looking at?
Right.
What are you stuck looking at? Right, like magazines of the case, right? Like a National Enquirer ran with it. All of that stuff, man.
Rhonda's saying that Bugs should have been on the DA on that case. Rhonda, I think you're going comment of the night there.
He was blackballed already.
My God. Fiddle's saying all CNN showed was the OJ case coverage for months. Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't remember. I didn't watch TV then, but yeah,
I was young, but I remember it was always on because that's something, our parents or your neighbors, everybody was following this case because there was something for everybody. Maybe you're not a football fan, but this had, celebrity. Right, Again, it had all those things that it touched somebody in some way that they wanted to follow.
Is anybody in the chat that lived in Los Angeles around that time? And what was the buzz around Hollywood? What was the buzz around West Hollywood and in that area where they lived? If anybody in the chat, if you lived in that area, what was the buzz like? What was what was all that kind of stuff like in 1994, 95, right? Something like that.
Well, the murders were in 94.
Yeah, right.
So, yeah, it's good question. But then it's also, I think it also depends on, this case involved so much of a focus on race. So I think depending on maybe, if you were in that area, depending on, again, and it involved celebrity, wealth, power. It involved so much. So I think depending on what side of the coin you're on, everybody viewed it differently. Everybody viewed this case differently. I'm not saying one's right, one's wrong, one's better, one's not. It's just the way that was. And there are still people to this day that are very, yes, he did it. No, he didn't. It's just one of those things. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. Renee is saying Orange County hated him because Nicole grew up here. And Renee, that's what I mean too. Right, yeah. There's going to be different communities are going to,
And then Linda says, I was in Riverside and it was all everyone talked about. Wow. Yeah, I can imagine.
Mm-hmm. Barb saying it was the first televised trial like that. Absolutely. Yep. Menendez brothers was first televised, but that was a different type of thing. Yes, it involved murder at the end of the day, but there's differences in that case. But in regards to wealth and power and privilege, touched on both. Absolutely touched on both. Tony Stewart saying LA prosecution lived up to their reputation, screwed everything up.
In the show, there's a FX show about it, right? With the OJ and the team and the trial. It's more on the trial side of it, the team. And I think the emphasis on that show was how the Marsha Clark and what was the other guy's name?
There was Marsha Clark, Johnny Cochran, Robert Kardashian.
No, the other guy, that Clark's partner, the assistant. I forgot his name. Anyway.
I can't remember if he.
I know. They took a chance with the glove. They went all in with the glove, man. I mean, that was the show went with that. It all revolved around that. It was like they had the big, your poker table and you're all in. You put all your chips in. They went in with the glove on that. And so when the glove, like the whole famous glove don't fit, you must all that. When it didn't fit, that's when it just tanked. Their whole thing just went down the tubes, man. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Christopher Darden. There you go.
Darden. Thank you, Barb.
Thank you, Barb.
Yeah. So, okay, you're going to start to say the saying, and then you're going to stop If the glove doesn't fit, you must acquit.
Quit. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody knew that line. Everybody to this day. How
what they
many years,
remember.
decades later, you know,
Yeah.
you could just walk into a room and say that line. Everybody knows what you're talking about. This trial was that widely covered. I hate to say monumental, but it was such a milestone in media coverage, and again, all those issues, those big issues at the time that touched on so many different communities. It had it all. Let's see, Tony Stewart saying, I may yell guilty during the trial, depends how I feel. Okay. Hey, rock and roll. Good to see you. Let's see.
K-Dog has it. Yeah, K-Dog. I think they put that in the show.
Johnny Cochran called his wife at that point and told her to chill the champagne.
Yeah. Something around, they were in the celebrate, they were celebrating already after that. Yeah.
Tony saying, but besides of actual guilt, did the prosecution prove beyond a reasonable doubt? Based on the jury's verdict, they didn't prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. The DA was the defense was able to poke enough holes to plant that reasonable doubt.
I'm sorry, Capone, you're right. You're right.
Kramer's
remember his lawyer, that dude with the glasses? He like mimicked him so well too in that show.
Let's see, that is towards James Watson.
What did Kramer do for work that he could afford to live in that building?
Oh, for Christ's sakes, I don't know. Honestly, he should have been tried in Santa Monica court, but after the 94 quake, they had damage. Supposedly would have been a far different outcome. Interesting. Tony Stewart, that jury would have found him guilty even if would found him not guilty. Sorry. Okay. So shocking. The jury found him not guilty in that trial. So before we get into the next, okay, the glove doesn't fit. We're getting to the next thing. But let's see, what is this? Danny, please. They had Ron Goldman blood on his. I was just a kid when that happened. I'm very outspoken about what my feeling is on OJ's guilt or innocence. Guilt. But yeah. So Beckham.
Yeah.
The white Bronco.
The infamous one, huh?
The infamous one. Where were you when that happened? Do you remember?
I think I was working, I think it was in the afternoon. And it was like, we're 2 hours ahead of LA, right? So it was like 5-6 o'clock. And I was cashing out of I was the morning guy, the room service guy at a hotel. So, but I worked, I think, into the afternoon or whatever. So I was, I was cashing out and everybody started talking about it, like around the hotel area. And I think we went to the bar because the bar, that bar at that hotel, it was close to where the Cowboys played at that time, Irving. So the bar had a huge, big screen for its time, a huge backdrop, big screen. And I think that's where people were. I think the bartender turned it on to the TV. So everybody was like, if you were checking into the hotel, or you were around the hotel, or around the lobby, or the bar area, you were like tuning in, and you couldn't take you were like, what's going on, right? I mean, it was like a big old chase, and they're talking about it. OJ Simpson, the football player, and that's how it all kind of started, right there. There you go,
yeah. Yeah, good point. Everybody, it's like the world stopped when that happened.
Yeah, it did. For that, yeah.
We all know.
I might have watched it for like 30 minutes, and then I was like, I gotta go. I was playing. I had to go play ball or something. But I did watch for like 30 minutes. For like a 19-year-old to watch something for like 30 minutes straight like that, you're just busy all the time. It was a big deal.
It was a huge deal.
Yeah.
It was a huge, and because he had a gun on him. The I'd say the driver, the person he was with was calling 911 saying, I have
Oh
him
yeah, I mean, we
here.
can go do a whole nother show breakdown of what happened, but yeah.
I mean, it was again, OJ's on the run. He has a gun. He's suicidal. There's now this, I hate to say the word hostage, but at the end of the day, yeah, that's exactly what it is. Because you don't know someone's mental state at that point. They have a weapon.
What was his friend's name? Al?
Yeah.
Not
I did think for a second. It's talked about. Okay, that the whole white Bronco chase. Al. It's talked about in here from OJ's perspective. Very, very different than what we, learned
Al
in
Crowley?
the media.
Al?
His thing is like, I wasn't on the run. I needed time to think, and it was just, come on, no. But oh man, that white Bronco. I was a kid when that happened, but so like you said, it was live, and then it was replayed on the news everywhere. So even if you missed it live, if you were working, you were, at school, whatever the situation is, it was on repeat. Every single channel, every news channel you could flip through for, I would say days, weeks, and see that white Bronco.
Yeah.
But yeah, you guys in the chat, where were you guys when that happened? Do you remember it? Did you see it live?
James was buying polo shorts at a mall.
Wait, what?
I don't know. James was shopping at Dillard's.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Who listens to James Watson in this chat anyway? Let's see. DNA was all compromised due to them not securing the... Oh, right. Jumping back to... Yeah. The LAPD messed up a case. Shocking. If you want to hear one other example in life where the LAPD might have butchered a case, go over Manson Saga discussion panel. We'll fill you all in.
I do remember sitting down watching somewhere at a friend's house or something. Their parents, I think, were watching it. And the detective, not Furman, the other goofy looking dude. All right, he didn't even look like a detective. He looked like not a detective. He admitted to taking evidence home in his car.
Evidence what? It was not secured.
I was like 19 or 20. I don't even know. And I was just like, I even knew, I was like, dude, I just shook my head and I walked. I was like, all right, let's go play ball or something. I don't know. I was doing stuff all the time. So I was like, let's go outside.
It was appalling. It was.
He literally leaving where the lawyer was like, sir, would you say again that you the box? Where was the box? And he like the box of evidence. It was in the back seat of my car, personal car, or how they had their own police car, like they got their own car. Mm-hmm. And the department issued them a car or whatever.
Yeah,
it was, and you could just tell he was so embarrassed.
As he should be.
If they did that with that case, at the magnitude of that case, what do you think they did with other cases? Mm-hmm. That was not on the same level as the same the microscope of media and everybody and whatever, following audits and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Oh God, the LAPD and its incompetence. They didn't learn anything from. Yeah, if they didn't learn anything from the '69 Manson case, they're not. Not learning it now. Renee says she watched it live. Let's see. Shelly's saying Ron Goldman's sister Kim does real estate up here where I live. Okay. Capone, I want to say that I watched that live in school in a current events class. Yeah. Let's see. After Rodney King, no way they were going to lay guilty on him. That's one side of it. Absolutely. Renee says she remembers the Bronco chase clearly. The jury was using racial past of LA to make their decision on OJ. Yeah, like I said, that was one of the big things with this case is, race was a big part of this trial. Let's see. Rhonda says, why was OJ's finger cut? There's different versions. According to him in the book, he cut it, or he didn't realize it was cut until he got to Chicago.
Look at Ella.
Let me catch up.
Oh,
James Watson, I missed the Bronco chase. I was cross the border shopping in the U.S.
That's why I said he was at Dillard's.
God. Russell is okay. So once we catch up on these comments, I want you, if you're able to answer this, to talk about the chain of evidence. Damn it!
What chain, dude? It was broken like right off the bat.
And there you go. Conversation over. Let's see. During the trial, my mom was in love with Mark Fuhrman. Oh God, Linda, that's funny. Oh God. Nuffles, even in Australia, it was live.
I was live in Australia.
Man. Chris, I was in Boston and watched it live on TV, watching it. Let's see. Hey, Ella. Yes. OJ's blood. CNN's Larry King.
That's even worse. Really?
What? Larry King?
No, the blood.
Oh. Let's see. There's a little back and forth chat. That's fine. Just want to make sure everybody. Rock and Roll says, I was in my office at BUM Equipment and we all gathered around a TV. They passed our off ramp, the freeway. Oh my God. That's crazy. Rock and Roll. Oh my God. I can't even imagine. We were all screwed. Look at that. Wow. I watched the Bronco chase live from my grandmother's house. And Fiddle, we all know he's in the deep woods of Canada. So look at that. I was at a Holiday Inn when the chase occurred. See, this is one of those moments in history. You know what? I know, like my parents' generation, it was one of those, where were you when JFK got shot? Like, I feel like part of ours is, where were you when, someone such and stuff happened? This is one of those. Phil Venator, he never booked OJ's blood. Okay, you guys are talking about that whole lack of chain of evidence. Barb says, I was 34 at the time. You're right, Mr. B. At the time, I was a nurse, retired now, watching the LAPD screwing up so much. When people come in here and say you're right, it really scares me. But right. We'll let that comment go. We'll let it go. Rhonda keeps going back to, I feel sorry, Ron and Nicole, they didn't get justice. I completely agree with you. I think a lot of people completely agree with you. Let's see. Ella says, I was in the courtroom August 1995 when Michael Baden testified. I want to raffle. I'm obsessed with Michael Baden. I got to see him at CrimeCon last year. I own a bunch of his books. Oh my God, I'm obsessed with him. That man is a wealth of knowledge.
It is sad though, Danny. I mean, OJ being from LA, or living in LA, being from LA, doing everything there, football, or at least college, comes back, does the acting thing, all that stuff. He was king of LA for a while, man. Like he played football. He didn't play baseball. I don't know how good his baseball skills were, but you know who was one of the most famous Los Angeles Dodgers ever?
No.
OJ.
Okay. You'll love when you're asking me a sports question. I'm like, oh,
you don't get it?
No.
LA Dodgers. Dodging. Never mind.
Oh, Jesus Christ, Beckham. Christ's sakes. One, knock it off with the dice. Two, Renee saying people were, on the street cheering his micro ass on. Rhonda saying, I was at home. I just had a baby, so she was watching it from home. People were on the freaking freeway. Oh, I'm sure. Look, it's the better Paul coming in hot. A simple hello would have been sufficient at the beginning of that, but that's all right. All right. Fun fact, Danny is now banned from any future crime cons. Imagine. All right. He was big in LA at the time. Yeah.
The biggest LA Dodger ever.
So, all right, before we move on from the Bronco, this is so random, but an offshoot related, I promise. So picture it. Years later, I'm at work, I'm on break, I'm on my lunch break, I go into the break room, TV's on, and there's what looks like a white Bronco chase. OJ, this already happened years ago. So this OJ, the white Bronco chase, it's done. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? There's this white Bronco going down the road. Police cars are behind it. And I'm watching it like, no, this isn't a repeat of the OJ case. What the hell am I watching? You know what it was? When Paris Hilton went to jail and then got released and then had to go back. That's what that was. But it looked just like, I'm watching it like, what is happening? A white Bronco chase over and over. Yeah, I'm not, okay, I know as I just said it, I'm not doing it justice, but you had to be there. It was just one of those, you're watching it on a TV and you're like, there's no way lightning strikes twice. There's no way. But anyway.
It kind of did. It kind of did for OJ.
Mm-hmm. So we know he was found not guilty. He had the dream
Right.
team. The glove didn't fit. You must acquit. However, it didn't end there. In 97, another jury unanimously deemed OJ liable for Nicole and Ron's wrongful deaths in a civil lawsuit that was brought on by the Goldman family and ordered them. So OJ had to pay them, and it came up to $33.5 million in damages. OJ eventually ended up behind bars, however, in an unrelated case. Beckham, do you want to talk about this?
It's just that, yeah, in 2000 and I think it was 2007, him and a group of gentlemen, I think 3 other men, robbed a sports memorabilia store at the Palace Casino in Las Vegas. Police initially saw OJ and they were like asking him questions. Of course, he's OJ. And it's like while he was kind of, talking to the cops that were still robbing the joint or robbing the place. And they took the stuff. And a couple of days later, police arrest him, and then he's convicted of that or whatever. So I guess breaking his his parole thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I guess he served prison time for it too, I believe, right?
Yes,
he not released until when? I want to say a year, but I could have the year wrong.
He served 9 years of a sentence of up to 33
Okay, so
years.
he was released in 2017 then.
He did.
Yeah, he did time. Yeah. Okay.
Did time.
I was. Yeah. Now here's an interesting point that I found out today that I was not aware of. So his NFL retirement, which I think Shelly looked it up for me earlier, was anywhere between 150 to 500,000 a year, in between there, right? And his monies from the Actors Guild for his acting, which was another 100,000 a year or something like that, 50 to 100,000, could not be touched by any civil liberties. So no matter what court decisions or whatever were granted, nobody could touch that money. So that's what he's been living off this entire time. Yeah.
He moved to Florida though.
Yeah.
That's a state where the Goldmans would not be able to go after him and his assets. I know Renee put that.
Those two different entities, you couldn't go after them anyway. NFL pension, you can't touch it, and you can't touch the Actors Guild money. Cannot touch it no matter what. I don't care where you move. Now his other money that he had, his other investments or whatever, they went after that, or that's what they could go after.
Right. And then
I believe that's probably what led him to trying to steal that stuff back or whatever, right? The sports memorabilia back. So yeah, I mean, that's probably what he was trying to go after, really, to get stuff back, probably, even though he would probably deny it.
Yeah, there's different versions when it comes from
right, exactly. To that story, yeah.
One of the things that you left out, and I see a bunch of people in the chat being like, "Hey," is that it was an armed robbery, so it wasn't just he went and no, that's fine. We're talking about a lot of stuff today. Lots of
band of merry lads. Yes.
Yeah, it was an armed robbery. So he did try to steal at gunpoint. So and it was again pieces of his own sports memorabilia.
You're right. It was gunpoint.
Yes. One of the things that, see, I was talking about this with some coworkers today, and it was one of those like, why? And I was saying, my personal thought on it, what I was telling my coworker today was, I think he thought he got away with murder. He's untouchable. That was my opinion on it. But
I don't know. He was found not guilty.
he was, but not in a civil suit. He wasn't. But it's just because, you know, one would think he got lucky, didn't end up going to jail.
Yep.
Why then go do an armed robbery and risk it all and go to jail for that? But, you know, that's up for debate. All right, let's see where you guys are in the chat before we jump. Let's see. I wonder if Danny would hide me out if I'm in Boston and commit a bank robbery. No, I'll be the first one to turn you in, Tony. But that's only because I like you. Yeah, Renee, that's why he moved to Florida to protect his assets. Fiddle, I thought he held someone hostage in a room. Let's see. Yeah, over sports memorabilia. Yep. Linda saying, after the murder, I cried when I saw Fred Goldman trying to understand why his son died. Oh, Linda. Oh, I know. Let's see. Ella's saying OJ lived in Vegas in his final days. Hello, Vic. Is the dream team dead yet? Most of them are. Let's see. OJ was the only divorcee that kept his house. Rockingham and 2 divorces. I read that in the Enquirer. Well, if it was in the National Enquirer, it must be true. I don't know that offhand. Beckham, what is all the noise? What is the ruckus?
Where?
You.
Oh, I just fell over a little bit.
Jesus Christ. Oh, do I have to send you for your this year's Christmas package, like a life alert for you to press or something like that?
Not that old yet.
Yeah, you're getting there. He thought that the people with it stole out of the storage locker. Someone paid for the defense. OJ didn't pay. Well, he was friends with Kardashian. So, I mean, yeah. Doubt his buddy was going to charge him. Robert Shapiro. Okay, Ella's saying Robert Shapiro still alive in Berejek. Okay, thank you. You have to ask why Robert Kardashian was on his dream team. Why? So he couldn't testify against him. They were close friends. And that was one of the things, like, I mean, I hate to say we all know the Kardashians, but sadly we all know the Kardashians. And that was a big thing where Kris Jenner was close with Nicole and Rob was close with OJ. So it was one of those that caused tension within the Kardashians' own marriage. But yeah, he was going to represent his friend. Let's see. Robert Kardashian. Yeah. So Beckham mentioned that he was granted parole in 2017. And one of the quotes that I found today was, he told the Nevada parole board, quote, "I've done my time. I've done it as well and as respectfully as I think anyone can," end quote. Thoughts on that?
He did.
I don't know. I know I'm harsh. You know, even on the Manson saga, like, I'm very eye for an eye and then some. So, like, when I hear you got sentenced up to 33 years, I would have liked him to stay for 33 years. I don't, this whole like, oh, good behavior, get out early. Like, I know why the system's made, reform. But so to me, him only serving 9 when he could have served the 33, I'm like, I don't think you've done your time. But that's just me. So, all right, we kind of talked a little bit about OJ in several areas of his life. Again, he went to later on put out a book called, you know, so it's If I Did It, Confessions of the Killer. This was re-released with in this new edition has a introduction from the Goldman family. Again,
the new edition, when was that put out?
This was put out, let me tell you. So originally 2007 and then paperback new edition 2008. So it's a bit of an older book. But I recommend this to everybody. Again, I did a review on this on my show. That link is in the description notes. But the
So,
part from the Goldmans in this book goes into how they even were able to put this book out. It was basically hitting OJ where it hurt him most, where they could financially hit him, his wallet.
yeah.
So
Now, the people were asking today, I could kind of see it out there. Did he say anything in his deathbed? Did he say the truth or whatever? The last thing that's ever known of any suggestion or in relation to the murders was in 2021. He was interviewed, and he said, he avoided Los Angeles because he didn't want to accidentally run into the real killer. He gave that as of August of 2021. And and again, here's a quote. He says, I have trouble in Los Angeles. People may think this is self-serving, but I might be sitting to whoever did it. I really don't know who did this. End of quote. So, he just always felt that the killer was still at loose. Get it? Loose is loose.
Beckham.
He said, and to end the interview, the same interview, he said, you got to look to learn. You got to look to learn. I figured eventually somebody would confess to something, He continued to say and finally ended. He's like, how many Americans even today wouldn't like to live my life? I don't work. I play golf 4 or 5 days a week. I go out to dinner a couple of nights with friends. People want to buy me drinks. I'm always taking pictures with people. And ladies hug me. End quote.
All right, I'm gonna be sick. I'm gonna be back in a minute.
That was probably the last of that part of it you will ever hear from him. He believed, based on that interview in his own words, that he could literally be sitting next to the killer who was at large at the Dodgers game in Los Angeles if he went.
All right, let's break that apart. Does he believe that, or is that just what he's putting out? I think that's up for debate. Also, there is
a drug burn theory component to this.
All right, well, hold that thought.
Until all I'm going to say to us about the actual murders, until you can properly identify the footprint that's right smack in the middle of the crime scene that didn't belong to anybody involved. Didn't belong to OJ, didn't belong to any of the deceased or anything like that. Not even the police detective that might have just stepped on the crime scene on accident walking. I'm just saying.
I mean, that's not all the realm of possibilities.
All right, right? Yeah. But until you can properly, not you specifically, just in general, until somebody can properly identify that the footprint right in the middle of the crime scene, there's going to be doubt. And I'm sorry, there's going to be doubt as to who actually committed the murders, for me personally.
That is your opinion, hon. You are certainly entitled to it. You're not alone in that. You are absolutely not alone.
Because I learned some more stuff from other people that are in like Los Angeles, embedded in the case, have access to evidence, have access to interviewing the detective, all this kind of stuff. And kind of similar to like the Manson case or any real case, sometimes you just don't know all the information still. Even if you can read all the books you want, you can do all this, the YouTube shows you want, you might not be privileged to all the information that's real. And there's information out there that people possibly owed drug money to some drug dealers, and that could have been involved. I'm not saying OJ could not. I'm not completely out of it, but that's where the drug burn really has feet to, or like really strong evidence to stand on. It really does. And known drug dealers that at that time had a lot of push and pull in that LA area that were dangerous. But I'm just saying that's some other we don't have time to go into all that. But they asked, and that's talking.
Yeah, there was also another question for you when I scroll back, and I want to make sure we get that question asked. I just want to, before we move too far on, the statement and the quote that you just read again about him saying, I'm afraid I'll run into the real killer. The thing with OJ, and I feel like this, if I'm wrong, by all means, let me know, y'all, Beckham, you guys in the chat. He doesn't do himself favors, whether you think he's innocent, guilty, whatnot. He made, to say, if he just made the statement, I'm afraid to go to LA, I'm afraid I would run into the person who killed my Nicole, or something to that effect. I might still be like, we know you did it, but okay, I'll hear what you're saying. But he doesn't stop there. He goes on to, and this is rampant in his book. I can't underscore that. I can't stress that enough. It's very narcissistic. Even in the statement you read, who wouldn't want to be me? I get drinks, girls are kissing me, and blah, 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 blah. It's just, shut your mouth. Just shut your mouth. Makes it all about himself, all these grandiose things, and look at my life, and I have this and X and Y and Z. Why add that? Why add that? That's where it's like, what? You just...
Chris James asked if Goldman had a black belt. He did have a black belt. And with that, Goldman suffered a knife wound in the back of one of his legs, because I think it was his left leg. I might have been his right. I can't say.
I don't remember offhand.
It was one of the legs, because he did throw a karate kick trying to defend himself. I'm not trying to be funny. That's really, that was an actual, I watched and saw the autopsy, but the doctor did an autopsy on the wounds and stuff.
Yeah.
So he had a knife wound at the back on his hamstring and the back of one of his legs. So he threw a karate kick trying to defend himself and got stabbed there.
Yeah. No, and nothing funny about that at all. Yeah. If you're trained in that and this is your,
he was trying to
defend yourself.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Look, Sam Smith, you come in now with a hello. Sam, you're growing more in me every single day. Okay, let's go back, especially because there was a question for Beckham. I want to make sure that we don't lose it.
What does Sam mean by those are continuation of retaliation murder? Or for what? What does he mean by that? What do you mean by that, Sam?
Yes, Sam, please elaborate. Source, what's your source? All right, Chris James asked, Beckham, what do you think of the theory that his son did it?
That could have been that's another thing with the police did not investigate, where they messed up. They should have really drilled his older son, who was younger, like 22, 23 years old. It was a chef. I believe he was a chef, or he worked in the kitchen.
I don't remember.
And he was stronger, bulkier, younger, 22, 23, strength, prime strength of your life at the time. Especially if he spent time in the gym lifting weights. That's probably the strongest you could be at that time. It took some strength to do these murders, though, by the way, because you're talking about decapitating, right? Almost. It
was a very violent attack.
Exactly. So it definitely took some strength. And then that's kind of where the defense argued. See, now I'm going to start going into it. That's kind of where the defense argued about OJ. OJ being a 48, 49-year-old man, barely limped. He had arthritis in his knees. He had arthritis in his shoulders and his wrists and his hands. Could he have really been that? Could he have had the strength to pull that off? In essence, really, that's kind of where the defense was going with that. Forget the glove not fitting. They weren't worried about that until it happened, and then they just landed in their lap, right? Remember I told you the prosecution went all in with that, and it was anyway. But they were trying to sell it. Hey, man, this guy's too old to commit this kind of crime. He has to take all these vitamins. He's got to take all this arthritis medicine. He kind of has a limp when he walks. His knees are bad. His knees are all cut up. He had replacement knees. His knees are all, shattered, especially playing in that time in the 70s where they didn't protect the players back then anyway. They tackled any which way they could. So you're talking about an older man trying to commit these crimes. He was 48, 49, 47 years old. But the defense, the dream team was basically saying he had a body of a 65-year-old. 49 with the football injuries, his body was like 60. Okay. He really couldn't have committed these crimes, especially going up against a kid who was 25. Goldman was 24, 25?
25.
Karate black belt. He actually threw a kick. It just didn't mesh with the crime scene with an older man trying to commit these crimes. So, but Russell, Mike Tyson wasn't a running back for 10 years in the NFL and taking hellacious hits to his knees. Mike Tyson has his knees. OJ didn't have his knees. His knees were shot. It's a huge difference. Anyway, sports related. So you can just kind of contemplate and kind of go. So yeah, honestly, if OJ was he there? Most likely there. Did he order the hit? Maybe. Did he have his son help him? Maybe. I can't say that because his son's still. His son's is there. He's got a family, and so you just can't throw around. His son did it because he's innocent. You don't know, right?
Right.
But they should have investigated that angle, and police didn't do it. Again, another thing that they didn't do.
K-Dog said his son had an alibi, and then Chris James follows up. His alibi was handwritten on his time card, though.
Well, there you go. Covered his tracks or something,
His son was in shape, had mental issues, had violent rages, was angry at Nicole that night.
Right. I see all those things. Yeah, we get it. But, the police did not follow up on that lead, on that footprint. They never figured out who that footprint belonged to. Did it belong to the son? Did it belong to OJ? Did it belong to his son? Did it belong to a hitman? Did it belong to somebody that was coming to collect? Because that's a big time. I'm telling you, that drug angle is a big thing. If you studied it.
One of the things I will meet with you in the middle on is the LAPD big time drop the ball on this, and whatever side you're on, guilty, innocent, there's 1,000,001 things that call into question this case. So I agree with, they didn't do a lot of proper things in this case, and now we're still here questioning it because of that.
Did OJ owe a dealer? Yeah, we could say, did OJ owe a dealer? Maybe he found out it happened. He drove over there, he freaked out, walked on the scene, got the blood on his shirt, got the blood of the van. He's over there. Oh my God, what happened? Oh my God. He goes back home. He's freaking out. Cato's involved now. He tells Cato's freaking out. Cato was just a pool dude, all right, living the dream. Maybe that's what happened. Maybe that's what I think Sam was talking about, was a retaliation murder against OJ, because OJ might have owed somebody money. And it was all against Nicole. And I'm sorry, Goldman was just at the wrong place, at the wrong place at the wrong time. It's one of those innocent things. He was just being a nice guy, returning the glasses, took a nice walk at night. It's probably a cool night. I don't know when the murder happened. Kind of walked in a nice area of LA. You think nothing's going to happen, just going for a walk,
It was June 13th, 94, so summer.
Yeah, but it probably wasn't June is not that hot yet. So it's kind of probably cool at night still a little bit. So it's just a nice night. Yeah.
Well, being in Boston, to me, June is great weather. So LA, great weather in June, in my opinion. But
the whole limo thing is kind of also kind of weird. Yeah, Ron Goldman was that's true. Steve Parent of the case, unfortunately, yes.
Oh my, what a good comparison, James Watson. And here I thought you were just here being a pretty face. My God. Let's see. There was a comment.
Now they're talking about Cato being the house boy. That's true.
Yeah, he lives the
what
life.
He was.
Tony Stewart, I agree. All right. So Linda's saying his son Jason lawyered up as soon as the murders happened. Why? Back then, I could see how it was like, what are you hiding? What are you hiding? Being into, as much as, okay, we're all here into true crime, right? From whatever angle that we like it.
Yeah, no one's
I
going to
do
be
have
wrong
to
or right.
say-
We're just, no one's going to be wrong or right. There's
Yeah,
so much in the air. The police didn't do. Again, guys, when you're investigating a crime, whether it's fraud or murder, the most important thing is you got to start with your timeline. You got to start with that. And if you don't have a timeline, what the time from the time it started to who you have there, and then you progress with your timeline. You got to establish your timeline. Mm-hmm. And that the police was like this with the timeline. They were confused. Oh, okay, so the murders happened here. How did they even know to get to OJ's? How did they even know to go over there at such late at night, right? Supposedly Furman plants the glove, the limo drive. I mean, there's just all kinds of this going with the timeline.
All right.
Yeah, and it gets kind of hard. It gets difficult.
It's very difficult when, it's, oh God, I feel, why are there so many LA cases where the LAPD just like,
I know.
I don't know. I don't know what the job, like what the requirement is to get a job there, but
it's not.
Sign me up. I think I could do better.
I know. I think it's actually kind of hard to get in, actually. But.
Which blows my mind. All right. That's a conversation for another day. All right, Linda. Again, back then, in hindsight, questionable. I do have to say now, being as much into true crime as I am, one of the smart things to do nowadays, lawyer up. And I know people might say, well, I have nothing to hide, but it's just nowadays, I just don't trust law enforcement. I really don't. I don't trust anybody. But if something happened to me and if it was, hey, your family member that do I want to help? Absolutely. My advice to everybody's lawyer up. So when I see that, I'm just like, oh, he might have nothing to hide, but because of the publicity around this, it's one of those, just protect yourself, help out with the investigation. If you have nothing to hide, but protect your ass.
Do you know Andrew Tate, the top? Do you know who Andrew Tate, the top G is?
No.
He says, quote, when you become successful, people are going to come after you. It's just a thing. When you're young, you have your thing, this or that. And when you've made it, the one thing you have to have is a lawyer. You got to have a lawyer because people are going to come after you. Just going back to what you were saying about lawyers, you need to have a lawyer on dial or on your phone ready to go.
Back on the dice, knock it off.
Sorry.
God. But Tony, of course, you're different, hon. And I'm not trying to that's just my one takeaway of just crime nowadays. And I think it does have a bad look to it if it's one of those of people instantly lawyer up. But if it's one of those, again, if you had nothing to do with it, help out, but just cover your ass too, because we've seen it so many times where the wrong person gets convicted.
Yeah.
And, they maybe were just, things go every which way. Protect yourself, help blah, blah, blah. I can't express that enough. Look at Renee. Renee, you need to tell us how you really feel. I despise the LAPD. All right. Okay. Well, good night, Russell. Thank you for coming in. Good to see you. Have a good night. Sweet dreams of Mr. Beckham. Let's see. Howard was his first lawyer to OJ. Then he took a lie detector. Then Howard Weitzman wasn't his lawyer anymore. Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. If Danny was a judge, she'd be oh God. Yeah, I'm tough. Between me, Paul, and Beckham over, I'm the mean one. I don't know how or why, but I'm the mean one. I'm the one where it's just like I said, an eye for an eye and then some. Like
I'm in Boston with my girlfriend. You and her tag team on me.
That's just deserved. You're right, Danny. People do get convicted wrong. Yeah, and it happens. It happens. Yeah.
Everybody
And
needs to
there
be
are
like the top G, get that lawyer on dial. Speed dial.
Yeah, if I get into legal trouble,
Thanks, Nuffles. Nuffles,
Hi,
before you
Nuffles.
go, did OJ do it?
Oh my God, Knuckles! I don't know what time is it. You're in Australia. What time is it?
He's like you. He's in the future.
She. Ruffles, she, not he.
Linda is all. Oh, of course. He says okay. I don't know what he means. I guess he says he did it.
If Danny was a judge for my criminal cases, I'd be going. Yeah, probably. For the record, what is this? My park and shrimp wontons. Pork and shrimp.
I just think there's more information to this case.
Yeah.
Than just one guy. Sorry.
Don't apologize. Don't apologize.
Now, what would you say if it was like Sam said? I think this is what Sam meant earlier. It was a retaliation murder. Okay. So if it was a retaliation, I'm gonna get your point of view here. If it was a retaliation murder against OJ, do you still blame him? Would you consider him still like he did it? Like, I'm just asking.
If somebody wanted to harm her,
well, remember it was a retaliation. Yeah, it was a retaliate, not because usually in a retaliation they go after your wife, your family.
I understand. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
In cases in general, like if somebody was trying to harm you, but they got to me first.
See, I'm just going based on the whole retaliation thing. The PRJ grudge person, they just said Goldman was sleeping with Nicole. He wasn't returning her glasses. He was also her drug dealer. Well, I mean, I don't know about that one.
I have not seen any documentation to support that.
The most I've seen, remember, I haven't seen the evidence, but I've heard the person has talked to the detectives, has seen evidence that the public has not seen, and they made the distinction that it in like 88 to 90% was a retaliation murder against OJ, and they went after Nicole.
To answer, I don't buy that.
Ronald Goldman was, and that's where you get the third footprint that nobody knows that's where the footprint belonged to, and it might have been like two other people, but anyway,
Rhonda's saying I would believe that if OJ had no money to pay for his drugs. I personally don't believe it was
cocaine's expensive.
Cato moved from Nicole's to over with OJ. Yeah, because.
Well, I'm not saying I'm right. I'm sorry, Rhonda. I'm not saying I'm just saying that that's something that I've heard like recently, within the last 6 months.
It's a theory.
These people have They said they've seen evidence. They know the detectives retired now. Just kind of like we're breaking evidence on the Paulcast with in conjunction with our good friend with the Manson
Bo Cielo Drive.
Yeah, with Bo at Cielo Drive, kind of like that. This person has seen the evidence to highly suggest it was a retaliation murder against OJ.
Look at this. Let's have a seance and ask him
for the drugs. Anna Goldman was just an innocent bystander, had nothing to do with anything.
I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah. Whatever.
I will say, and I agree with.
I'm sorry. That's where that footprint comes from.
Mm-hmm. As much, me and Beckham, this is one like even
I don't know. I could be wrong. I'm just telling you. Yeah, I'm just telling you what I've heard the last 6 months on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is one like me and Beckham have been talking about this case for years in our friendship. Like, what do you think about this? We've never agreed.
Cato doesn't know nothing on it,
and that's okay.
Huh?
That's okay.
Oh, I'll guarantee you, Cato. Everybody's like, "What if Cato know? He doesn't know nothing."
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with that. This is one of those cases, like as Beckham just pointed out, there's a lot of theories to it. Whether you believe this one theory, there's a lot of theories. I don't want to say similar to the Manson case because it's not, but
No.
in regards to, there's so many theories about why this crime happened. That's the similarity, that there's just so many angles that this, you
And
know,
the
if you
police
don't agree
didn't
with
do
this
it
one,
from
you
the-
might agree with the other. And again, LAPD botched this horribly, that a lot of answers that we want were just, it's just not going to happen. And it leaves us open to now being where we are now, still saying, what if this? What if that? What
Yeah.
if that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, they would have done it the right way. Yeah.
So
They should have followed up harder on that third footprint.
hmm.
They should have invested. They should have really drilled the son. They should have. I mean, just at that time.
Shoulda. There you go. There you go. And on that note, we're almost at an hour and a half. So for those of you who were with us this whole time, thank you. Thank you for joining us for this impromptu Thursday night show, because again, breaking news, OJ Simpson dead from prostate cancer. He is now passed away as of last night. The news broke today. So 76, dead at 76. So all right, this has been a lot. Thank you, Beckham, as always, for joining me on this, especially when I'm like, should we go live? Okay, you do this, I do that. Like, it was just like breaking down. We need to cover all these points. So thank you, Beckham, of course, for all of your help with this.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, everybody, for being here in the chat. And thank you to everybody in the chat for being so comfortable and just so honest here, where you can say your opinions on this. I mean, not everybody in the chat agreed with each other on everything, but everybody kept it civil. Everybody kept it peaceful. We all can agree to disagree, and that's okay. Totally fine.
Maybe now that, OJ has finally, left this earth, maybe that just puts a nail in this case forever. Because
that happened when Manson died.
Right?
Oh, Beckham, you are a glass half full kind of person, clearly. But anyway, thank you for joining us, everybody. We will be back tomorrow night for the weekly True Crime and Chill. That we will not be talking about OJ unless some breaking news comes out from now until then. Then we'll quickly recap that. Other than that, we're going to talk about other true crime cases from this week, because it's been a hell of a week for true crime cases. And yeah, we're going to update you guys on that. So everybody have a great night. Thank you for joining us. Thank you again, Mr. Beckham. Always a pleasure. Until next time, remember, we don't live in darkness. Darkness lives in us. Bye, everyone.